environment is the way you refine character, but they use in metallurgy to tell you that their character was being tested and that they were being put to the fire in order to determine who and what they was. And they found out when they came out, what? These are the protected ones from somebody, right? And now Nebuchadnezzar loses his mind and loses his kingdom. But what happened? When Daniel decided to finally read the writing on the wall, Nebuchadnezzar slapped out of the slumber, realized he's in the jungle among the beasts. Hey, I don't supposed to be here. Symbolic of waking your brother up from the slumber by reading the writing on the wall. In ancient Kemet, we call it hieroglyphics. In New York, we call it graffiti. If you know the land, you can read the graffiti and you can know what tribe is operating under the modern banner of gang. Them tribes.
Wow.
Right? There's no such thing as a gang. A gang is a tribe. It's even in the definition and etymology of the word gang. They tell you it's a tribe or family unit or family group that don't go along with the status quo. Therefore, they don't fit into the system. Right? And then now the gang realized that the tribe, they reconstitute. We was at war. We got murdered, slaughtered. But we ain't died. We multiplied. We baby kids up in here. Who is baby? That's Big Mama. You don't believe me? Go to New Orleans and ask them where baby stay. They're going to be like, which baby? You mean Baby Johnson? Or you talking about Baby Milton over there? That's somebody Big Mama.
Damn.
And Big Mama kids don't never die. We always multiply because we have to answer the oppression with producing children that's offspring born at inception to solve certain social issues in the general public. If you look at the way that we moved in the 50s and 60s, it's not how we moved in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Because we were so heavily saturated with infiltrators, we didn't know what the hell was going on in the 50s and 60s. We know that it was a civil rights bill passed in the 60s, and we thinking that it's for some black people, and it's say indigenous civil rights right on the bill, or Indian civil rights. But it's for us. But we supposed to be from Africa. Right? And then when Martin started to tell it, they got to silence him. Malcolm tried to tell it, so, you know, he had to go draw the infiltrators out. If they in here like you say they in here, make them come out and show themselves. If I go this way, they're going to come out and kill me. Prove it. Right? Chickens coming home to roost. Detroit Red Rooster.
Right.
Running a red herring to get the wicked ones away from the babies. If he right, they got to destroy it all and start all over and get rid of the infiltrators. At least isolate them and control them.
Right.
So they destroyed it. Wharfdeen Muhammad, Farrakhan rebuilt it.
Rod,
cultural phenomenon.
Rod, you talked about manifestation about 5 minutes ago. We started going in on manifestation. Before I ask you this, because I got a question.
That didn't exist.
That's how far ahead of his time he was, bro. That's how far ahead of his time he was.
The only thing that he can compare the experience to let people of his day understand what he was trying to tell them is by calling them a Radiohead.
Radiohead, damn.
When we was just going over the epigenetics aspect of downloading information and all of the membranes feeding the auric field the information for the brain to take it in through the nerve network or the mycelium network of the human body and transfer it to the human brain for processing, refinement, and delivery into the focus because you're looking at it, you the observer. So between your collaboration with the ether or the spirit of the great mother is how you focus the collapsing of the wave into the particles that manifest as your 3D life. Right? And onlookers contributing observer effect by non-participation. Because the more observers with there's non-participants, then the more they follow your observation. Right. You give your observation as a synopsis in order for them to know if they want to give it attention or not, in order to bring about the inevitable changes that need to be made. Right. So the secret societies know by promoting the worst parts of society, it'll compel the people that's being done the worst, that has the strongest capability to say enough is enough, frustrated enough if they can withstand the chapter of misery, that when they do say enough is enough, everybody know they ain't playing. And then because they gonna start having the ear of all sides.
Right.
All sides want the truth more than they want the narrative. And when you giving them the truth and you not trying to control the narrative, you telling them, you go look over there and you see for yourself. But don't take sides with me and nobody else. That way you can keep your observations under your control. Meaning you can collapse your wave into the particle of the 3D life that you choose. All right. And all of your energy focus, that communication is always taking place. And that's how we driven in these human meat suits as radio heads driving across the terrain in our avatars.
Indeed. What a way to end the show. Indeed, what a way to end the show. Listen, I want to thank everybody. We gotta listen, family. We got a global audience. We got 3,000 people right now, right? We got people earlier who said they were from Ghana. We got people from all over the world that tune into this platform that we will be surprised of who watches this show. So shout out to everybody all over the world, all colors, who watch this show, and come to my world, Brother Rich world, and see what, and get my perspective and the guest perspective. And it's a beautiful thing that, y'all could appreciate us being ourselves. Rod do what he do, I do what I do, and we're able to all learn from each other. I always have a magnificent chat. Y'all sharing magnificent stories and comments in the chat. So it's just all around a magnificent experience. And Rod, I want to thank you once again, my brother. Keep doing your thing. I'm gonna call you soon. Me and Rod's gonna do this Patreon within the next week. So I'll call you within the next couple of days to set up the Patreon. With that being said, Rod, we getting out of here, my brother. Signing out. I'll talk to you soon, my brother.
All right. Peace, Brother Rich.
Peace, family. See you next time.
A lot of people.
All right. You good, Griffin?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Sir. Thank you for
you welcome, brother.
me up. Appreciate it, Rod. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you, brother.
Keon, if you want to ask a question, you got to turn on the camera. All right, let's go to our brother, Dr. Reggie. You on the call, brother?
Okay, great. Hey, Rod Hayes, we've spoken a few times.
Yeah, I know you is, brother. I know you is.
All right. I'm not. I can only ask a question or two. So, the reason why Billy Carson got in trouble is because he was repeating things over and over and over again, particularly things like Christ wasn't crucified, right? And he got in trouble with a source, right? And listen, thanks for coming on this channel so we can vet exactly what you say. And I'm sure Sonetta has a bunch of questions so we could get specific. And we don't want one of those people like Huff coming on and ruining you, right? Or any of us, right? So we're going to have to be a little bit more specific, and we're going to have to mention some sources at some point. So my question is, you made a statement that the that what we call the Egyptians, those are the people of Africa in this particular Nile Valley area, which they call Tawi, right? The two lands. You made a correlation between those groups of people and the Sumer people, who we don't know a whole lot. We only know it through Babylonian and Akkadian sources. So my question, because I don't want to disturb anything, I want Sonetta to ask his questions, right? Hopefully he has good questions. But you have to tell me, right, since you brought in ancient Egypt, right, you're going to have to tell me that the ancient Egyptians or those people identify themselves with gods or with sacred animals, right? And is that similar at all to the paradigm out of Africa? Because in my research, they thought differently. They didn't talk about sky gods. They talked about natural elements in Africa, sacred animals or venerated animals in nature, things that they could see, hear, and feel, right? And it has no correlation, and there's no recorded evidence that they ever met the Sumerians or the people that followed until a much later period. So their thinking was already developed. So my question is, you're going to have to can you spend a few minutes and tell us what you believe the ancient people of Africa believed, and show me that it's the same that the people out of Africa that what they believed, and to make a correlation. So I'll stop and I'll listen. I won't interfere. I just want you to talk to me about Africa, which is the birthplace of humanity, right? So we have more than 100,000 years of what we call pre-civilization in Africa. And then we have these other groups of people out of Africa in their thoughts. So tell me what you know about what the people of Africa in the Nile Valley that we call ancient Egypt believed. And I'll mute my mic and I'll turn off my screen and listen.
Well, first of all, the Egyptians' beliefs evolved over a long period of time, right? America's only 200 years old. When we look at the evolution of the ideologies in America, then we should understand the evolution of the ideologies that took place in Kim. The sacred animals is the totem system, right? Then you have the ones who was from the royal families, which was your hierarchy. But they have pre-dynastic civilizations that they don't talk about that go back even further, right? So I didn't make a correlation. Sonetta asked me a question about the relation between the Egyptians and the Sumerians. And I told him I believe that based on what Tahuti say in the Emerald Tablets, or what Thoth say in the Emerald Tablets, that they went over there and set up an observatory to keep an eye on the laboratory experiments and different things that was going on in Sumer that evolved into Babylon and Akkadian and all of that stuff. So they got different beliefs. Even in Africa, from tribe to tribe, you got different belief systems. You got different tribal structures and setups of how the rulership is passed and how the wealth is passed. But you have a common undertone in Africa called the Holy Drama. We knew it as the Assyrian resurrection story. This story is told by the Dogon and by several different Bantu tribes that's not in Kemet, that's in Western and Southwestern Africa, right? So the belief systems vary around the world throughout history, and what they perceiving is how they telling their story. Everybody not telling the same story. They telling the story that they see. 10 people can be at a murder scene and they all gonna tell the same story. The only thing they gonna agree on is the murder.
All right. Let me move on to the next brother. First, let me ask you, can you explain more about the connection between the Ana, Isis, and the Immaculate Conception story.
Right. That's the story of Heru and Kemet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And this is also what they call the Inanna story in what we call the Middle East. Right. But the Anunnaki story is it's kind of different from the Egyptian story. They're not the same. But the Egyptian story is the go-to for the Immaculate Conception because it's one of the most comprehensive descriptions of how she was able to produce Heru from the seed of Osiris when he was no longer physically present. Right. And there's also other Immaculate Conception stories is written by, I think my man name was Kersey Graves, 16 Crucified Saviors.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's not an original story, but the most comprehensive that goes into it. And it's also part of the holy drama.
Okay. Let me get Dizzelli, let's get it, man. Let's go. And I got in the building next.
Hey, Saw, and greetings to Rod Hayes. Firstly, I want to say, Saw, I'm definitely going to need a show to give the House of Consciousness a treat on this topic.
Let's do it.
I want to do it in how it relates to us in a conventional manner, things that are happening now. This is going to be quite a scary show. We can probably call it like a Don horror show. But yeah, I'm definitely going to want to link up with you so that I can get that out to the people so they can start worrying about whether Jesus wore briefs or boxers. But the question that I want to ask the brother Rod Hayes, and I said greetings to him, I want to ask him, with the information that you're bringing forth concerning the Anunnaki, have you ever considered how it affects the history of, let's say, humanity as far as religion goes? So if we're following you and you are bringing information that a group of beings, came to this planet in the in ancient times, have you ever put it together that these beings are probably responsible for many things that many people follow? We used to wonder why people had to make sacrifices to God or whomever, sacrifices of food. And you would be wondering, what does God want with food? What does God want a roasted calf for? That's just something to darn think about. But Mr. Rod Hayes, have you ever considered these things is my question. And can you elaborate on them just a little bit for us? Thank you.
I absolutely considered these things because the only way you will know is you have to find what's called the fingerprints of the author. That means that most of the stuff we believe, we really believe in it because somebody told it to us. We ain't believing it because we know it. That's like 90% of what we believe. The stuff we know, only thing we know is what we've experienced in real time in our particular life, and everything else is secondhand information. That's why I don't do debates, because I'm going to be arguing, no matter whose source I use, I'm going to be arguing secondhand information, right? So I can give resources, I can give sources of information, but I rely more on my experience than I do on my my learning, because I know that most of the stuff that's been fed to us has been fed to us to control us. And go back to whether it's the Sumerian tablets or the writings in the hieroglyphics in Kemet or the Bible, the Quran, all of this stuff is control measures, right? You got to remember, we're looking at right now a current Earth population of roughly 8.4 billion people. right? And the number is fluctuating based on interference by governments to reduce populations by chemical controls, which comes from, it's about making them consumer to poison winds and stuff of this nature. So a lot of what we believe today can be traced back to all of the ancient groups, but we only get pieces of it because the people that was writing, you gotta remember, in the year 1800, it was probably a couple thousand literate people on the planet. But here we is in 2024 with thousands of literate people, millions of literate people now, and we all relying on what the little handful of people wrote back then. Even if you go back to the hieroglyphs, only certain priests knew how to, was trained in the proper writing of the hieroglyphs on the walls. It's the same in Sumer. Only certain priests was the ones responsible to record the record. So how do you know what they recorded? They didn't record everything, just like our historians don't record everything. Nobody can record everything unless we have a continuous three-dimensional panoramic film running while we living. Otherwise, it's stuff that happened in your life you don't even remember until somebody say, you remember that time? And then you're like, oh yeah, I remember. But all of that affects belief systems and how we perceive the world. And all of those documents that the information is being traced back, because we're trying to find the source that we get the most information from. And once we get trace it back to a central source, then we'll know who told it to us. Right. And sometimes we don't come back to a source. We come back to this book is attributed to this author, and we don't even know if the author lived. Just like your biblical Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. All of those at the beginning and the introduction, they tell you this book is attributed to. That means they don't know if they wrote it or not, but this is who they're going to get a credit to.
All right. Mandinka Mali, you are on the call.
All right. Peace and blessings, man, for old times.
Go ahead, brother.
Peace to the panel. Let me get straight to the question then. Good Lord.
Brother.
Yeah, go in.
I don't know what to do. You know, I don't know. Anyway, peace and blessings to the panel, man. Shout out to my cousin. Hey, Rod Hayes. That's one of my cousins from. Hey, he's from Jackson, Mississippi. So he know where his people come from. You know, this is why I understand why he don't get the Africa connection. That's for another time in another place. Our people come from Mali, Mandinka. So you trying to do some more other stuff I heard you talking about. But that's for another time and another day, sir. You know, me and Cuz are gonna have a one-on-one consultation about this. Which one of the Hayes is telling the truth? You hear me? That's gonna be the battle. Because hey, I'm fighting for my people's ancestry, you know, and their history on the plantation. He talking about they already here. No, I traced them back coming over here on ships, slave dockets, what tribe, everything.